The mystery of the man who never gave up. Imagine you are walking in a forest unlike any you have ever seen. The floor is as soft as a green carpet. Birds make sounds that resemble little songs. And the wind blows so gently that it almost seems like it's trying to tell an ancient secret. You walk slowly, looking at everything with curiosity, when suddenly something catches your attention. Among the roots of a gigantic tree so large it seems to touch the sky, there is a glow, a small reflection, as if the sun were hidden inside. As you get closer, you realize it's not a rock, it's not a treasure of gold. It is a book so old it seems to have witnessed the beginning of the world. The cover is made of dark leather, marked by time, and there's a mysterious symbol engraved in the middle, a symbol that appears to pulsate like a heart. You touch the book with your fingertips, and before I can even think, the book opens by itself. The pages begin to turn slowly, as if they were choosing which story to tell you, until they stop, and at the top of the page, in large, bold letters, you read, "The story of the man no one could destroy." Your heart is beating faster. You feel like something extraordinary is about to happen. The wind stops, the birds are silent, everything around you becomes quiet, as if the entire forest were waiting for you to continue. You begin to read. The first sentence says, "There are people who, even when wounded, shine brighter than any star." The second sentence says, "This is the story of one of those people." And then the book asks, "Have you ever heard of the saint who survived torture?" His body shivers, because this is no ordinary story. This is no ordinary story. It's a story about strength when there is no strength left, on faith when everything tells you to give up, on courage when the world seems too heavy. A story that spanned centuries, that crossed countries, that changed lives, and she's about to change hers too. The book continues. He was not a warrior. He had no swords. He had no armor. He had no riches. But there was something that no one could get out of him. A heart stronger than any pain. As you read these words, it's almost as if you can see a golden light emanating from the pages, as if that saint, somehow, was still there, watching over those who have the courage to listen to his story. And then the final opening question appears. Are you ready to meet the man who overcame the impossible? The page turns itself. The forest traps the air. The world seems to be waiting for your answer. And this is where the real story begins. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell, so you don't miss the next videos. Who was this saint? When you turn the page of the book, you see a drawing of a young person. He is not dressed as a warrior, nor as a king. Her face is ordinary, simple, but her eyes, their eyes seem to hold a light that you don't see in just anyone. The book describes it this way. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but it was different. This young man had something special inside him, something that didn't belong in the world. A heart so kind, it seemed made to heal invisible wounds. From a very young age, he helped those in need. Sometimes he would give his own food to someone who had less. Sometimes I would spend hours talking to a sad person just so they wouldn't feel alone. I wasn't doing it too. He applauded. He did it because his heart told him it was the right thing to do. The villagers liked him so much that every time he passed by, something changed in the air. The adults smiled, the children ran to hug him, even the animals approached him, as if they recognized him as a friend. But there was something even stronger about him. He was talking about love, forgiveness, faith, hope, and when he spoke, it felt like the whole world became lighter. Not because they were beautiful words, but because he truly believed in them. Even when he was tired, even when he was sick, even when I was sad, he continued to help someone, and that caught the attention of many people. Good people saw him as an inspiration. Lost people saw him as a beacon. Injured people saw him as a remedy. But as always happens in life, not everyone liked those who brought light. Some powerful people started to get annoyed. They couldn't understand how a simple young man could touch so many hearts. They thought he was getting too big, even unintentionally. They feared he would defy their orders, even though he had never done so. And their fear turned to irritation, and the irritation turned to hatred. Until one day, these men decided he needs to be silenced, and then they sent guards to follow him. They spread lies about him, and without any real reason, they decided that he should be arrested. The scene described in the book is sad. The young man is taken away by force, even while trying to calm those who were crying as they watched him leave. He doesn't shout, "Don't fight, don't revolt." He simply says, "Don't be afraid. The light always wins." Those were the last words the village heard before watching him disappear among the soldiers. The pages of the book darkened slightly at this point, as if they also felt pain. And you realize something important. This saint wasn't arrested because he did anything wrong. He was arrested because it was too good to be true, because his kindness bothered those who didn't want to change. And this is where you begin to understand why this story is so powerful, because he hasn't even begun to suffer yet. And yet, he was already teaching the whole world about courage. The page ends by saying, "Up to this point you have known your light. Now you will experience your suffering and the miracle of his strength." And slowly, the next page turns automatically. The book sets out to reveal the most difficult and most impressive part of this extraordinary man's life. The tortures that didn't break the soul of the new page in the book is darker. It almost looks like it was burned around the edges. And when you run your eyes along the lines, it feels like you're entering a cold, heavy place, almost to silent. The story begins by showing the prison where the young man was taken. The cell was so small that he couldn't stretch his legs. The ground was as cold as stone in winter, and the only light came from a window so high that you couldn't even reach it, even by jumping. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the intentions of the men who were there. They didn't just want to arrest him. They wanted to break your faith. They wanted to extinguish his hope. They wanted to make him disbelieve everything he taught, as if his soul were a kind of candle that they could blow out. And so they began. In the first few days, they took away their food. In seconds, they took their rest. Then, they tried to take away his peace. And finally, they tried to take away his strength. He was tied up, pulled, dragged, pushed. Her body, as simple and fragile as anyone else's, began to fill with marks, brands that burned hotter than fire. But something strange was happening. Even when the pain was immense, he didn't rebel. Instead, she would close her eyes and take a deep breath, as if she were talking to someone no one else could see. Gradually, the guards began to notice that something was wrong. But wrong in the opposite sense. Wrong for them, because the more they tried to hurt him, he seemed to become calmer. One of the guards, the youngest one, even asked, "Why don't you scream?" Everyone screams, and the young man, even though he was almost fainting, replied in a soft voice, "Because pain doesn't rule my heart." That sentence made the guard recoil as if he had been startled. Other prisoners saw it, and they began to observe this man who, even though injured, spoke beautiful things. Even while bleeding, he comforted others. Even though he was trembling, he helped those who had fallen. Sometimes, when everyone was almost out of strength, he would tell stories. Stories of hope, stories of miracles, love stories that never died. And nobody understood how he managed to do that. Until one night, the torture became even more intense. The guards decided to test their limits. They tied his hands, suspended him, and left his body hanging for hours. Hours that felt like days. But even so, something extraordinary happened. Some prisoners swore they saw a soft light surrounding his body, a light as faint as a distant star, but so firm that no darkness could extinguish it. The guards were confused. Some nervous people, others are irritated. "That's impossible," they shouted. But the more they tortured, but that light seemed to grow even stronger. Not a light that hurt the eyes, but a light that brought peace. A light that said, "You can hurt my body, but they will never touch my soul." And that made them furious. Because how do you defeat someone who doesn't give up? How do you win over someone who doesn't hate you? How do you break someone who is made of courage? As the days went by, even the other prisoners began to change. They who previously wept and trembled with fear, they now sat near him. Listening to his words is like warming oneself by a fire on a cold night. Even the guards started avoiding his gaze, as if they feared that this calmness might be too contagious. The book describes a striking scene. The young man is lying on the ground, injured. He can barely move. But when another prisoner starts to cry, he raises his hand with difficulty and places it on the man's shoulder, saying, "The pain passes, hope remains." How can someone say that while they're suffering? This is where the book explains it. He wasn't strong on the outside. He was strong on the inside, and that inner strength was so great that no man could destroy. The page ends with a spine-chilling sentence. The torturers conquered the body, but the saint conquered the soul. And when you turn the page, you already feel like you're about to witness a miracle. The miracle of survival. The next page of the book opens slowly. She is different from the others. It is not as dark as the darkness of suffering, nor as clear as that of the saint's childhood. It has a soft light, like the dawn after a very long night. And the text begins by saying, "All pain has a limit, but love doesn't exist." After many days, perhaps weeks of torture, the saint's body was almost lifeless. He could barely lift his head. His arms were trembling. Her legs seemed to have forgotten how to walk. The guards believed he wouldn't survive until dawn. They looked at each other, commenting, "It's impossible to resist for so long. Nobody can stand it anymore. Tomorrow he will no longer be here." And then they locked the cell, laughing as if they had won a battle. But inside the cell, something very different was happening. The saint had fallen, yes, but his mind was still awake, and even in his weakness, he whispered words of faith, words that seemed to float in the darkness. "I am not alone." These words echoed softly, like a small fire in a very cold place. The night was so quiet, you could hear drops falling from the ceiling. The cell seemed bigger than ever, and emptier too. But then, something has changed. Fast, a gentle breeze entered through the high window, even though there was no wind at all that night. Then an almost imperceptible light began to appear in the corner of the cell, so faint it seemed like just a reflection. But she grew up, and it began to spread across the floor. The other prisoners woke up, startled. One of them squinted and whispered, "Do you see this? Or have I gone crazy?" Another replied, "I'm seeing it too. It's real." The light grew brighter, but it wasn't a light that hurt the eyes. It was a light that brought peace, a light that seemed to say, "You're not finished yet." And then, to everyone's surprise, the saint began to breathe more deeply. Her skin was no longer pale. His muscles stopped trembling, and little by little, he stood up. First, place your hands on the ground, then on the knees, and finally, standing up. The prisoners remained silent. Nobody dared to move, because what they were seeing, it was unnormal. The saint, still with his body wounded, he took 3 steps forward. Every step seemed impossible, but each step also seemed to be driven by something bigger, something that did not come from the body, but of the spirit. When he got close to the iron gate, one of the prisoners said, "You are alive." "How?" And he answered in a firm voice, "Because love is stronger than pain." At that moment, even the metal bars of the cell seemed to fall silent. In the morning, when the guards returned, they expected to find a body lying on the ground. They opened the door hurriedly, laughing, but they froze. The saint was sitting calmly, with shining eyes, as if he had slept the best night of his life. One of the guards dropped the keys. Another one took a step back. Another fell to his knees, not understanding what he was seeing. "That's not possible," one of them murmured. But it was. It was so possible that it was right there, in front of them. Because some strengths don't come from the muscles. They come from faith. They come from courage. They come from the heart. The news spread among the prisoners and even among the soldiers. He survived. And not only did he survive, he was better. He spoke more firmly. I walked with more confidence and looked at everyone with such great compassion that some guards felt ashamed for the first time in my life. One of them even said, "I wish I had half that strength." And the saint replied, "The force is not mine. It belongs to those who believe in good." From that day on, he ceased to be just a prisoner. He became a symbol, living proof that suffering does not overcome the spirit of someone who has chosen to love. The book concludes the chapter by saying, "There are miracles that happen outside of what we see, but this happened in front of everyone." It wasn't just his body that had resisted. That was the message he carried. The torture had injured his hands, his feet, his back, but nothing could touch his courage, and that is why they started calling it the saint who lived, because he didn't just overcome the pain, he overcame his fear, he overcame injustice, he conquered hatred, and most importantly, he won the urge to give up. The page is dated, and everything inside you already knows. Something very big has just been revealed. The legacy that no pain can erase. The last page of the book looks different from all the others. It has a golden glow that you've never seen before, as if it had been written with light instead of ink. When you tap the page, the book makes a soft sound like a sigh from someone about to reveal a secret kept for centuries. And then you read. Some stories never end. They simply remain within those who listen to them. After surviving the impossible, the saint did not leave prison as someone defeated. He left as someone born. The guards who had previously mocked him, now they would lower their heads when he passed by. The prisoners who previously wept in the dark, now they walked with hope. People from all over the region began to visit the terrible place, not to witness suffering, but to see the man whom no suffering could destroy. Some wanted to understand his faith, others wanted to touch her hands, and many just wanted to hear his voice, hoping to find some of the peace that seemed to follow every step he took. And he always said the same words. The pain is great, but the greater good prevails. These words, simple as a hug, they spread, multiplying, until they reached places he never imagined existed. In the course of time, the saint's story began to cross borders. He crossed deserts, he crossed mountains, he crossed lands he had never set foot on. And every time someone told their story, something beautiful was happening. A person found the courage to continue. Another found the strength to forgive. Another found the faith to try one more time. Because the true strength of the saint, it wasn't just about the fact that I survived, but in the fact that he taught the world that no pain can extinguish the light of a heart that doesn't give up. One day, his body came to rest, but your message, this never stopped. She is still alive today. She is still alive now. It continues to live on within you who are listening to this story. The book then displays its final sentence, and she doesn't talk about the saint. She talks about you. The letters seem to pulse on a page. What would you do if you had the same courage as him? You close the book for a moment, feeling the gentle weight of the question, because deep down, this story is not just about a saint. It's about every person who has ever felt pain, every person who has ever thought about giving up, every person who has ever struggled without strength. And even so, he continued, his story is a mirror, a reminder that there is something inside us that neither suffering, nor injustice, nor fear can destroy. The ability to start over. The book ends like this. If you carry light, the world tries to extinguish it, but if you protect that light, she becomes a beacon capable of guiding even those who live in darkness. And then the pages slowly begin to glow, slowly, until they transform into a small golden flame that enters his chest. You can feel the forest around you beginning to breathe again. The birds are singing again. The wind touches his face again. You close the book, or maybe the book will close by itself, and realizes that he is not leaving that forest the same way he entered. Because now you know, courage is not about not feeling pain. Courage is continuing to shine even when the world goes dark. Just like he did. Just like you can do. And this, it is the story of the saint who survived torture. The story of a strength that no suffering could destroy. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, like, would subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos.